There was a man who had nothing. No money, no education past grade 9, no direction, and no reason, by the world's standards, to believe that anything would ever go his way. He was broke, in debt, and working a dead-end job that barely kept the lights on. By every measurable standard, life was not working out for him. And then something shifted. Not his bank account, not his job, not the people around him. What shifted was something far more subtle and infinitely more powerful. He changed the way he thought. He stopped calculating his odds. He stopped rehearsing his limitations. He stopped looking at what was and began acting as if what he wanted was already on its way. That man's name was Bob Proctor. Within a year of making that inner shift, he went from owing $6,000 in debt and earning barely $4,000 a year to making over $175,000. Not because luck arrived. Not because circumstances magically rearranged themselves. But because he had discovered one of the most transformative mental disciplines a human being can practice: the unwavering, unconditional, almost irrational belief that everything always works out. He didn't earn that belief. He chose it. And that choice rewired everything: his perception, his actions, his energy, his results. The external world simply had no choice but to rearrange itself around the new internal order he had established. This is not a fairy tale. This is not wishful thinking dressed up in motivational language. This is a principle, tested, repeated, and proven, that sits at the very core of Bob Proctor's philosophy and at the heart of every life that has ever been truly transformed. The question is not whether it works. The question is, are you willing to act as if it does? Most people live their lives waiting for proof before they believe. They want to see the job offer before they feel confident. They want to see the money before they feel secure. They want to see the relationship before they feel worthy. And so they wait. And while they wait, nothing moves. Because the universe, the infinite intelligence that governs all things, does not respond to need. It responds to state. Bob Proctor understood something that most people spend their entire lives missing. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. Not sometimes. Always. The circumstances you experience are not happening to you. They are being drawn through you by the dominant thoughts, feelings, and beliefs you carry. This means that if you want to change what you're getting, you must first change what you're being. Act as if is not a trick. It is not performance or pretense. It is a profound psychological and spiritual discipline rooted in the understanding that the mind does not distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically real. When you act as if everything always works out, you are not lying to yourself, you are instructing yourself. You are reprogramming the subconscious mind, which controls 95% of your behavior, to operate from a new set of assumptions. This is what Napoleon Hill called faith. This is what Wallace Wattles described as acting in the certain way. This is what William James, the father of American psychology, meant when he said, "Act as if what you do makes a difference." It does. In this video, we are going to go deep into this principle, the principle of acting as if everything always works out. We are going to explore the psychology behind it, the science that supports it, the spiritual dimension that elevates it, and the practical steps that make it real in your daily life. This is not a passive teaching. Every chapter in this video is an invitation to do something different. Not next week, not when your conditions improve, but right now, in this very moment, with exactly what you have. Because the truth is, everything is working out. You simply have to choose to believe it before you can begin to see it. Let's begin. Every result you have in life, every relationship, every bank balance, every opportunity you've attracted or repelled, began as an assumption. Not a fact. An assumption. An assumption is simply a belief you've accepted as true without requiring proof, and it silently governs every decision you make, every risk you take, and every door you walk through or walk past. Bob Proctor taught that the subconscious mind does not evaluate your beliefs, it simply executes them. If you carry the assumption that things never work out for me, your subconscious becomes a machine perfectly engineered to prove you right. It filters your perception, shapes your behavior, and ultimately manufactures outcomes that confirm what you already believe to be true. Neville Goddard, one of Bob Proctor's greatest influences, said it plainly: assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. He was not speaking metaphorically. He was giving a precise instruction about the mechanics of mind. Your nervous system, your emotional body, and your energetic vibration all respond to your dominant assumptions. Not your wishes, not your prayers, but your assumptions. Most people assume, quite unconsciously, that life is difficult, that money is scarce, that good things happen to other people. These are not facts, they are inherited programs, downloaded in childhood, reinforced by environment, and never consciously examined. And they run like software in the background, shaping every outcome you experience. When Bob Proctor was introduced to the book The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, he read it every single day for years. What he was doing, whether he fully understood it at the time or not, was systematically replacing a limiting assumption with an empowering one. He was installing a new operating system into his subconscious mind. The assumption that everything always works out is one of the most powerful assumptions a human being can adopt. It doesn't mean ignoring problems. It doesn't mean being naive. It means choosing to operate from a framework in which every challenge is purposeful, every setback is instructive, and every delay is a form of divine redirection. When you assume things will work out, you relax. And in that relaxation, your creative faculties open. Your intuition becomes clearer. Your perception expands. You begin to notice opportunities that were always there but invisible to a mind locked in anxiety and defense. The assumption also changes how others experience you. People are drawn to those who carry certainty, not arrogance, but a calm, grounded confidence that says, "I don't know exactly how, but I know it will." That energy is magnetic. It opens conversations, attracts collaboration, and invites synchronicity. Changing your assumptions requires repetition. One positive thought does not undo decades of negative programming. But consistent, deliberate, emotionally charged repetition, through affirmation, visualization, and action, will, over time, restructure your belief system at the neurological level. Begin today by asking yourself honestly, what is my dominant assumption about how life works for me? Write it down. Look at it. And then decide, consciously, deliberately, to replace it with the assumption that serves your highest good. Everything in your life will begin to reorganize around that single shift. Bob Proctor never tired of reminding his audiences of a fundamental truth. You are a spiritual being living in a physical body, and you are governed by laws that are as precise and unyielding as the law of gravity. Chief among those laws is the law of vibration, the understanding that everything in the universe, including your thoughts and feelings, exists as energy in motion. Every thought you think creates a corresponding feeling. Every feeling creates a vibrational frequency. And that frequency acts like a radio signal, broadcasting outward and drawing to you people, circumstances, and events that are in harmony with it. This is not poetic language, it is physics. Einstein himself declared that everything is energy, and that matching the frequency of the reality you desire is the only way to reach it. When you act as if everything always works out, you are not pretending, you are generating the vibrational frequency of certainty, of trust, of abundance. And that frequency magnetizes your desired reality far more powerfully than any strategy, tactic, or plan of action ever could. The problem most people face is that they want to feel good after they get what they want. But the law of vibration doesn't work that way. You cannot attract something on a frequency you haven't tuned yourself to. Prosperity doesn't come to desperate people. Love doesn't come to people vibrating in fear of loneliness. You must become the frequency first. Bob Proctor would often say, "You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are." This is not a judgment. It is a liberating truth. Because what you are is something you can choose to change, beginning this very moment, through the deliberate cultivation of emotion. Emotion is energy in motion. When you feel genuinely grateful, not as a mental exercise, but as a full-bodied experience, you shift your vibration. When you feel excited about your future as if it's already unfolding, you shift your vibration. When you feel the peace of knowing that everything is working out, you shift your vibration. And in shifting it, you shift your reality. The practice is simple but not easy. Every morning, before you check your phone, before you review your problems, before the noise of the day rushes in, sit in silence and choose your feeling. Choose certainty. Choose gratitude. Choose the feeling of everything working out. Hold that feeling for 5, 10, 15 minutes. Let it saturate your consciousness. Over time, this practice becomes a habit. And once it is a habit, it becomes your default setting. Your nervous system recalibrates. Your baseline emotional state rises. And from that elevated baseline, your decisions, your conversations, your opportunities, everything begins to reflect a higher order of possibility. People often ask how to maintain this vibration when reality seems to contradict it, when the bill arrives, when the relationship strains, when the project fails. The answer is that the vibration is not a response to circumstances. It is a commitment that precedes and ultimately transforms circumstances. Certainty is a choice. It is the most courageous and consequential choice you will ever make. Choose it not because life is perfect, but because you have decided, firmly and finally, that you are the kind of person for whom everything always works out. Bob Proctor devoted his life to helping people understand one central truth. Your results are not a reflection of your effort, they are a reflection of your programming. The subconscious mind, which controls the vast majority of your behavior, does not think or reason. It simply executes the patterns it has been given. And most of those patterns were installed before you were 7 years old. Think about what that means. The beliefs that are currently governing your financial life, your relationships, your health, and your sense of self-worth were largely formed by a child who did not yet have the cognitive capacity to evaluate them. You are, in many ways, still living by the conclusions of a child, and you've been calling it reality. The good news, and Bob Proctor believed this with every fiber of his being, is that the subconscious mind is completely reprogrammable. It doesn't care how old you are, how long you've held a belief, or how many times you've failed. It responds to new input. It adapts to new instructions. It can be rewritten. Repetition is the primary language of the subconscious. When you repeat a thought consistently, especially when paired with strong emotion, it eventually sinks below the threshold of conscious awareness and becomes a belief. This is how you formed your limiting beliefs in the first place. And it is precisely how you dissolve them. Affirmations, when understood correctly, are not wishful chanting. They are deliberate repetitions designed to penetrate the subconscious and plant new seeds of belief. When you say, "Everything always works out for me," you are not lying, you are training. You are speaking to the 95% of your mind that operates below conscious awareness. Visualization is equally powerful. Bob Proctor practiced visualization daily for decades. He would close his eyes and see his goals as already accomplished, not vaguely, but in vivid sensory detail. He would feel the feelings, see the images, inhabit the reality of his desired outcome. And the subconscious, unable to distinguish imagination from reality, accepted these visions as fact and began to organize his behavior accordingly. The body is a critical partner in this process. Your posture, your breathing, your facial expressions, all send constant signals to the subconscious about what state you're in. When you stand tall, breathe deeply, and move with confidence, you are literally telling your subconscious that you are someone for whom things work out. The body and mind create each other's reality in real time. Sleep is perhaps the most powerful window into the subconscious. The moments just before you fall asleep, what scientists call the hypnagogic state, are when the subconscious is most receptive to new programming. What you feed your mind in those moments plants seeds that grow throughout the night and germinate in your waking behavior the next day. Guard your mental diet with the same care you would give your physical diet. What you read, watch, listen to, and who you surround yourself with, all of it is food for your subconscious. Feed it stories of possibility. Feed it testimonies of transformation. Feed it the consistent message that life is designed to work in your favor. The inner blueprint is not fixed. It is a living document, and you hold the pen. Every morning you wake up is another opportunity to rewrite the story your subconscious has been telling, and to install, one repetition at a time, the unshakable belief that everything always works out. Fear and faith cannot occupy the same mental space at the same time. This is not a spiritual platitude, it is a psychological fact. Fear contracts. It narrows perception, triggers the fight-or-flight response, and shuts down the creative, intuitive parts of the brain. Faith expands. It opens perception, activates the prefrontal cortex, and allows the mind to see solutions, pathways, and possibilities that fear renders invisible. Bob Proctor defined faith not as a religious concept, but as a mental attitude, a disposition toward the future. He would say, faith is the ability to see the invisible and believe in the incredible, and that is what ultimately allows you to receive what the masses think is impossible. Faith, in this sense, is a skill. It can be cultivated, exercised, and strengthened. Most people operate from what Bob called a terror barrier. When they approach the edge of their comfort zone, when they're about to make a bold move, take a leap of faith, or commit to a goal that feels too big, fear floods in. And they retreat. They stay safe. They stay small. And their results stay the same. The terror barrier is not a wall, it is a threshold. And the only way through it is to act in spite of the fear, not in the absence of it. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the commitment to move forward while fear is present, anchored in the deep faith that everything is working out on your behalf. When you choose faith over fear, you are making a declaration to the universe, and to your own subconscious, that you trust the process. You trust that the intelligence which organizes galaxies and grows forests and keeps your heart beating without your conscious instruction is also capable of organizing the affairs of your life in perfect order. This trust creates a completely different relationship with uncertainty. Instead of experiencing uncertainty as a threat, you begin to experience it as potential. You stop needing to know how, you simply hold the vision of what and trust that the how will reveal itself in perfect timing. The greatest achievers in history, from Edison to Lincoln to Mandela, were not people who had certainty about outcomes. They were people who had certainty about their direction and their values, and who trusted, through every setback and every season of darkness, that they were being moved towards something greater. Practicing faith looks like making the decision before you see the path. It looks like sending the email before you feel ready. It looks like saying yes to the opportunity before you've worked out every detail. It looks like trusting the nudge, following the intuition, taking the step, because you have decided that you are someone whose steps are guided and whose efforts are supported. Every time you choose faith over fear, you create evidence. Small evidence at first, a synchronicity here, a door opening there. But as you collect that evidence and honor it, your faith grows. And as your faith grows, larger and larger demonstrations of everything working out begin to appear in your life. Start small. In the next 24 hours, identify one moment where fear would typically cause you to hold back, and choose faith instead. Take the action. Make the call. Send the message. And notice what happens. Because the universe is always responding, always supporting, always conspiring in your favor, waiting only for you to believe it first. Of all the mental and emotional tools available to you, gratitude may be the most immediate and the most powerful. Bob Proctor spoke often about the transformative power of a grateful heart, not gratitude as a polite acknowledgement, but gratitude as a force, a frequency, a state of being that fundamentally alters your relationship with reality. When you are genuinely grateful, you are affirming, at the deepest level of your being, that good things have come to me and good things are coming. That affirmation shifts your vibrational frequency instantly. It moves you out of lack and into abundance, out of fear and into trust, out of contraction and into expansion. The science supports this powerfully. Studies in positive psychology, particularly the work of Dr. Robert Emmons, have consistently shown that people who practice gratitude regularly experience higher levels of positive emotion, more vitality, more optimism, stronger immune systems, and greater life satisfaction. Gratitude is not just good philosophy, it is good medicine. But Bob Proctor's understanding of gratitude went deeper than psychology. He saw it as a spiritual alignment, a way of placing yourself in harmony with the infinite intelligence that governs all creation. When you are grateful, you are in resonance with the creative power of the universe. And in that resonance, manifestation becomes natural and almost effortless. Most people are grateful for things after they appear. Bob Proctor taught something more radical. Be grateful for your desires before they manifest. Feel grateful, right now, for the life you are creating, for the version of you that is emerging, for the outcomes that are already in motion even if they are not yet visible. This is what Jesus meant when he said, "When you pray, believe that you have received it." Gratitude also dissolves resistance. Resistance, the energy of doubt, of contradiction, of believing something while simultaneously expecting it not to happen, is the single greatest obstacle between desire and manifestation. Gratitude cuts through resistance like light through fog. It says, "It is done. It is good. I receive it." Create a daily gratitude practice that is specific and felt, not a rote listing, but a genuine emotional experience. Sit with each item and let the feeling of gratitude expand in your chest. Feel it in your body. Let it warm you. The more real you make the feeling, the more powerfully it shifts your vibration. Extend your gratitude to challenges. This is the advanced practice. When you can look at a setback and say, "I am grateful for this because it is shaping me, redirecting me, revealing something I needed to know," you have achieved a level of mastery that most people never reach. And at that level, nothing can truly set you back. Gratitude for others is equally magnetic. When you genuinely appreciate the people in your life, not just what they do, but who they are, you strengthen your relationships, elevate your environment, and send a clear signal to the universe that you are someone who cherishes what is given. Try this. Tonight, before you sleep, write down 3 things that worked out for you today. Not 3 big things, 3 anythings. The coffee that tasted good. The traffic that cleared. The conversation that went better than expected. As you train your mind to see what's working, the universe responds by giving you more to see. Acting as if is not a weekend exercise or an occasional mental vacation. It is a daily discipline, a commitment to inhabiting the identity of the person you are becoming before the outer evidence arrives. It is the practice of being your future self in the present moment, consistently and without apology. Bob Proctor made this devastatingly practical. He didn't just visualize success, he acted successful. He dressed the part. He spoke with confidence. He made decisions from a place of abundance, even when his bank account said otherwise. He treated his goals not as distant hopes but as current realities in the process of physical manifestation. This is not delusion. It is alignment. When your outer behavior and inner belief are congruent with your desired outcome, you collapse the distance between where you are and where you want to be. You stop sending the mixed signal of wanting one thing while living as if you expect another. Identity is the deepest level of change. When you shift your identity, when you genuinely begin to think of yourself as someone for whom everything works out, your behavior changes automatically. You no longer have to force yourself to take action. The action flows naturally from who you have decided you are. Start with small acts of alignment. If you want financial abundance, begin managing the money you have with the care and attention of a wealthy person. If you want vibrant health, make choices each day as someone who deeply values and honors their body. If you want extraordinary relationships, begin showing up in your current relationships with extraordinary presence and generosity. Your environment is a powerful anchor for your identity. Organize your space as if your best life is already in progress. Clear the clutter. Create beauty. Surround yourself with images, books, and objects that reflect the life you are calling forward. Your environment is constantly sending messages to your subconscious. Make sure those messages are the ones you want it to receive. Language is identity in action. Begin to notice the words you habitually use to describe yourself and your life. I always struggle with. I could never. That's just not for me. These phrases are declarations, and the universe takes declarations seriously. Replace them with the language of your future self. I am someone who figures things out. Everything I touch grows. Things always have a way of working out for me. Accountability is essential. Tell someone, a coach, a mentor, a trusted friend, about the person you are committed to becoming. When you declare your identity to another person, you create social and psychological accountability. You make it harder to retreat. You make it real. Setbacks are tests of identity. When something goes wrong, the question is not, why is this happening to me? But, how does the person I am becoming respond to this? The answer to that question, acted upon consistently, is what separates those who transform from those who merely wish. Tonight, write a declaration, a single powerful paragraph, describing who you are as the future version of yourself. Write it in the present tense. Read it aloud. Feel it. And then, tomorrow morning, wake up and act accordingly. One day at a time, one choice at a time, you are becoming the person whose reality confirms, always, that everything works out. Transformation is not an event. It is a process. And the belief that everything always works out is not an insight you arrive at once and possess forever. It is a conviction you build, layer by layer, through consistent practice, accumulated evidence, and unwavering commitment to your highest vision of yourself and your life. Bob Proctor did not change his life in a weekend. He read The Science of Getting Rich every day for years before his results reflected his new understanding. He studied, applied, failed, adjusted, and persisted, not because he saw immediate results, but because he had decided, at the deepest level, that this was the truth, and that truth would eventually manifest in his experience. The long game requires patience, not passive waiting, but active patience. It is the patience of a farmer who plants seeds in spring and does not dig them up in June wondering why they haven't grown. It is the patience of someone who understands that there is always a gestation period between the planting of a belief and its visible manifestation in physical reality. During the gestation period, doubt will visit. It always does. The question is not whether doubt will come, it is whether you will entertain it. Doubt is not your enemy. Entertained doubt is. Acknowledge it, and then consciously return to your faith. Every time you make that return, your conviction deepens. Keep a record of evidence. Every time something works out, every synchronicity, every answered prayer, every unexpected door that opened, write it down. Date it. Describe it. Read it back regularly. This is not superstition, it is the intelligent cultivation of a belief system. You are training your brain to find more of what it is looking for. Community matters profoundly on the long game. Surround yourself, as much as possible, with people who believe in possibility, who have done what you want to do, who speak the language of growth and abundance. Energy is contagious. Belief is contagious. Environment is not passive, it is an active shaping force on your consciousness. Invest in your education, not just formal education, but the education of your mind and spirit. Read the books Bob Proctor read. Study Napoleon Hill, Wallace Wattles, William James, Viktor Frankl. Expose yourself repeatedly to the thinking of those who have mastered the inner game. Let their wisdom become part of your daily mental diet. Celebrate every win, no matter how small. The practice of celebration is the practice of acknowledging that things are working out. It reinforces the belief, amplifies the gratitude, and signals to your subconscious that good outcomes are your natural state. Never dismiss a small victory, it is a brick in the cathedral of your new life. Review your goals daily. Not obsessively, but devotionally. The daily act of holding your vision in mind keeps it alive in your subconscious and maintains the emotional connection that drives inspired action. A goal reviewed once and forgotten is a wish. A goal revisited daily with feeling and faith is a commitment, and commitments have a way of becoming real. Bob Proctor lived well into his 80s, and he worked with passion and joy until his final days. Why? Because he had proven, through a lifetime of extraordinary experience, that the principle is true. Everything does always work out, for those who choose to believe it, who practice it daily, who refuse to let circumstances overwrite their conviction. The long game is simply the beautiful, relentless decision, made fresh every morning, to trust that life is on your side. You came into this life with no guarantee of easy circumstances. No promise that the road would be smooth, that the losses would be few, or that the people around you would always understand your vision. What you do have, what you have always had, is the power of your mind, the freedom of your thought, and the sovereign ability to choose the belief that will govern the experience of your one precious life. Bob Proctor did not teach these ideas because they were comfortable. He taught them because they are true, provably, experientially, undeniably true. And he built his life on them from a broken foundation and turned it into something magnificent, not by accident, but by decision. So here is the invitation, not the suggestion, not the consideration, but the invitation, to make that same decision today. Decide, with every ounce of sincerity you can muster, that you are the kind of person for whom everything works out. Not because you've earned it. Not because you've figured everything out. But because you have chosen to align yourself with the infinite creative intelligence that runs through you, that is you, and that has been waiting, patiently, lovingly, endlessly, for you to stop arguing for your limitations and start claiming your inheritance. This is not the end of the teaching. In many ways, it is the beginning. Take one idea from this video and apply it today. Not tomorrow. Not after the conditions improve. Today. Because the universe does not reward planning, it rewards acting. And when you act from the place of unshakable knowing that everything always works out, you will discover what Bob Proctor discovered, what every transformed life has discovered, that the belief was not a lie you told yourself to feel better. It was a truth you had forgotten, and are now, finally, remembering.